Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. All right, hey, we're back, and we have Bryan Platt in the studio with us today. I've asked him to come in. He heads up Jackson County Right to Life. Give us the big picture of what's going on with not only Jackson County Right to Life, what's going on with the petition drive in the state of Oregon, and overall with the whole issue of abortion. All right, first of all, Jackson County Right to Life, you got your big, we're heading towards fair. You got your raffle coming up?
We are. This is our once-a-year fundraising effort for Jackson County Right to Life, and what we do is we sell raffle tickets, and I happen to have some that Sue gets after I leave here today. They're $10 a piece. There are 250 of them, and the prize is $1,000 in cash. And, you know, everybody could use a quick G-note there in their pocket, but what's really cool about this, Perry, is in the past, part of the proceeds from the sale of the tickets has gone to fund that prize.
Right.
This year, as in last year, we had a very generous donor step forward and fund the prize. Right. And so Jackson County Right to Life, as a result of that, will be the recipient of essentially the entire proceeds, which gives us some breathing room beyond just our usual, you know, commitments that we have to the rally and to the prayer chain and to the fair booth and whatnot. So it's really been a blessing, and we're excited about it. They're actually going fast, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
So we have outlets. We have Sensational Sweets in Eagle Point. We have theDove. We have the Medford Mailbox. We have Evangel and Grants Pass. We have Valley Vinyl. And they're just, it's basically first come, first serve until all 250 are done. And then Jerry will do the drawing from the fair on Friday, July 18th, Friday, July 18th at 4 o'clock on his radio show. So a lot of fun. But I want to spend just a couple of minutes. People say, well, what all do you guys do? And I think it's important that people at least understand a little bit about what we do. We come in here when we rail about Oregon 2014. But, you know, Jackson County Right to Life, part of Oregon Right to Life, we're an educational organization. And our educational effort has quite a variety of different faces or appearances to it, whether we're downtown doing our info picket, which, by the way, is today, 12 to 1, downtown on Central and 8th, okay? So the info picket today at noon. Beyond that, we do the fair booth, we do the Life Prayer Chain in October. We've helped support the pregnancy center with the ultrasound machine that they did. So there's a wide variety of things that Jackson County Right to Life is involved that are all fall under that educational, you know, box. I actually have a sheet here, Perry, and it's about 4 pages long.
Okay. And
there are 23 bullet points on it. And this is what we call our projects list. Yeah. And we've put this together over quite a number of years, but there are 23 projects on these sheets of paper that we have envisioned to do and haven't been done, or perhaps we're involved in them right now, or perhaps we started them, but we don't have anyone now to help us with them. I mean, we're basically looking for volunteers. So if you have any interest at all, we would covet your presence at our chapter meetings, and there's so much that we can do to advance the cause of the unborn right here in Jackson County. Love to have you on board.
Well, one of the best chapters in the state, most active, and so get a hold of Bryan. And the days you meet are where?
Well, we meet every second Monday at 7 p.m. at First Baptist in downtown Medford on Crater Lake Avenue there. Yeah. We meet for about an hour and a half. You know, we have our business meeting, which is required by the bylaws and whatnot, but then we get into these various projects. Right now, we're kind of in the throes of planning for the county fair, you know, getting our volunteers and whatnot ready for that. The fair starts Tuesday, July 15th or whatever day that is. So that's a big event for us. You know, there's 100,000 people go through that fair, Perry, and we're there with our baby models and information that we can hand out. We give out the little precious feet pins. It's just a really important outreach to the community.
Excellent time. Excellent time.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, before we take a break, you are in the throes of the Oregon 2014. You got about 11 days to go. You need 116,000 signatures statewide.
That's right.
And give us an update where we are.
Okay, so here is the stats, just the hard cold facts as we stand right now with 11 days to go.
All right.
Okay, so in Jackson County we're at 63% of goal, Josephine's at 65%, Klamath's at 63%, Douglas is at 47%, Curry's at 71%, Coos is at 35%. Jeff did a major mailing
I saw that
this week, 60,000 names are being mailed a 5-line petition form that was funded by generous people donating their money to help this out. So that has the potential to finish this thing off. I think we're, you know, at 60% or something like that as far as statewide. So there's been a ton of groundwork and framework laid for this very moment. We have 11 days. Petitions need to be postmarked by June 30th in order to be valid. And then they go into the Secretary of State's office on the 3rd of June or July, something like that. So we're down to the wire. There's every reason to be optimistic.
Well, there is. And I want to say, folks, look, what this is about is this. This is the petition to get on the ballot a measure to stop your tax dollars from paying for 11 abortions a day in the state of Oregon. That's right. Right now, whether you like it or not, by mandate and law and everything else, your tax dollars are paying for 11 abortions a day in the state of Oregon. This is a petition to stop your money for paying for that. That's all it's about. And so, number one, have you prayed about this? Have you taken time to say, God, help us with this? Help the people in the state of Oregon, help pastors to understand this, help everybody to understand this. We've got to get these signatures in. We got 11 days to go. And then after it gets on the ballot, we'll have a whole new campaign to make sure people turn out and vote for it. That's a whole nother level that'll come up this fall. But we need to be praying about this. So 65% here in Jackson County. We still have some petitions here at the Dove. Where else can they sign?
Well, we've got, of course, you can go online to Oregon2014.org and print off a single signer sheet. But I have a ton of petitions at Valley Vinyl. Perry, all along our focus has been getting the church involved.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dave Crow's last email, there's 660,000 evangelical Christians that are registered to vote in the state of Oregon.
Yeah.
We need 116,000 of them to sign. We're convinced that the church holds the key. The people sitting in the pews of the church holds the key. And I'd like to take some time after the break to kind of get into a little bit of maybe motivational question asking about what we can do and how we can motivate the church to become involved in these last few days that we have.
I just think, look, we got a lot of issues going on throughout the country and around the world and in the state. I believe every problem we're dealing with in America today hinges on the fact that we have not gotten this right when it comes to human life. If we can get the abortion issue stopped, if we can value human life, of all the things that God created, He created human beings in His likeness and image.
Amen.
And that has to be sacred, that has to be protected. We get that right, I think everything else will start to fall into place. But when you violate that, we're in big trouble. And I can't find a scriptural reason anywhere why this should not be talked about and dealt with at the church level. We'll talk about that when we come back with Bryan Platt. All right, we're back with Bryan Platt and heads up Jackson County Right to Life, and we're talking about right now, by the way, let me just stop here and say, if you feel led of the Lord to get more involved in the life issue, get a hold of Bryan and become a part of Jackson County Right to Life. These guys, well, here's a sheet of all the things they do throughout the year. How many you got on there?
No, there's like 23.
23. There's something here that I'm sure you could get involved in. So that's one thing to do. But get a hold of them. Buy a raffle ticket for $10. There you go. He just sold me $20 worth of tickets.
Yeah, don't hold up your hand.
There we go. There we go. And this supports the chapter. And you can get the tickets here. You can get them at Valley Vinyl, a host of places. But let's support this organization and become a part of it. All right, we are down to the last 11 days of raising enough signatures to get on a ballot a measure that will stop your tax dollars from paying for 11 abortions a day. That's 4,000 a year in the state of Oregon that our tax dollars are paying for. It's got to stop. It's just got to stop. I mean, there's no option here. We got to stop this. Bryan, I can't find anywhere scripturally that would prevent the church from 100% getting behind this issue. Have I missed something?
Okay, so I'm prepared to make a very bold statement here.
And his phone number is?
Yeah. It is not God's will that the government of the state of Oregon causes us or forces us to pay to kill 11 babies every day. That's not God's will.
Yeah.
All we have to do is open the scriptures to see where God stands on the issue of life.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it isn't God's plan that you and I and everybody that listens to this program out there are helping to pay to kill 11 babies a day. Whose plan is it? I mean, what other option do we have?
It's the devil's plan.
If the church can't stand against the devil's wiles, who will stand? I mean, who will stand? Where do we look for the moral leadership to stand if the church is, abdicating their responsibility? So what I'd like to do, first of all, let me say this, Perry, over the course, we've been doing this now for 11 months. The petition's been out for 11 months. We've gone to dozens of churches. I mean, we really have. I mean, we focused on the ones that aren't participating, but the reality is we've literally been to dozens of churches, and at one time we were on the air and we ran a list of the churches that have circulated the petition, that have participated. So please don't take this wrong. Churches, bless your hearts. Pastors, bless your heart. I mean, we've had pastors. I was in a church one time. The pastor said, nobody that's a registered voter leaves this church without signing this petition. I mean, praise the Lord. I'm just like, yes. So, but having said that, 660,000 evangelical Christians that are registered to vote, we only need 116,000, and statewide we're at 70,000. So what's going on here? So here are some of the reasons that we have heard from churches over the last 11 months for their not choosing to participate.
Right.
This is a political issue and we can't be involved.
Okay.
There are too many causes out there for the church to be involved in to be fair, so we don't involve ourselves in any of them. Okay. There's no chance that this can succeed in Oregon, so why bother? We don't feel comfortable in bringing this issue before the congregation, or I didn't know anything about it. Okay, those are ones that we've heard from churches as a reason that they are choosing not to circulate the petition in their church. And so I'm gonna respond to these statements or these reasons with some questions. And my purpose here, I think, Perry, is, this isn't the last issue that we're going to be involved with here. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We're going to be here a long time fighting the fight. We're watching things slip. We're watching it slip away. Where do we finally stand? So my purpose here is to provoke people to think about this just a little bit more. And you may have been, completely involved in this. You may have circulated at your church. You may not have. But I think the questions are thought-provoking and maybe motivational. So let's see how this goes. So if the church has the legal ability to stand, and we know that for a fact, that this is an issue advocacy completely allowed under the 501c3 status of a church, no IRS issues whatsoever. There's no legal issues whatsoever. Does this really matter then, whether this is a political issue or a moral issue as far as church involvement? I mean, are we hiding behind, this is a political issue, or the politicians say, that's a moral issue? Does that really matter? We're talking about 11 babies being killed every day. How can we hide behind something as thin an excuse as that? How can we do that? That doesn't make any sense. And the churches know that there's no legal barrier. Okay. Second,
number two.
Okay, so if the government was killing 11 two-year-old toddlers every day, would that make a difference? In other words, my point is, I think sometimes, in spite of the clear biblical teaching that the unborn are created in the image of God, that their lives are determined before they're even conceived in the womb, sometimes the fact that we don't ever see them, and they may not even look like a human early in their gestational period, that we give them second shrift. Whereas if this was 2-year-olds, would be more responsive to that. Well, that's not right. These unborn babies are as human as you or I. They're just in a different environment, in a little bit different phase in their life, but they're every bit as precious in God's sight as you and I are. So, I guess this is the old trot out the toddler argument. Anything that you can say, I wouldn't ever do that to my 2-year-old, we should be able to say that same thing about an unborn child.
Yep.
Okay. Should the church make exceptions to their non-involvement fairness doctrine when the cause is A, clearly in support of God Almighty's own decree to choose life, B, abortion has had an impact on almost 50% of the church's population. 50% of the church is complicit in abortion at one level or another. Or C, the situation has huge implications for the future. And not only for the church per se, but for the family as God has established it. What have we seen happening to the family over the last 30 or 40 years? Abortion is leading the way to the breakdown of the nuclear family as God intended it to be. Okay? Number 4, if the church chooses not to involve themselves in the pro-life effort, then where do we look for moral leadership? Who is out there to lead us in a God-glorifying scriptural way? Is it going to be the government? Well, friends, it's the government of the state of Oregon that has approved the killing of 11 babies a day. This happens through the Oregon Health Plan. It's a government program. And, by the way, we are the government. That's how our tax money becomes involved in the murder of 11 babies a day. Okay, it's not the government. That's fine. How about the schools and universities?
Are they the moral leaders?
If they're the moral leaders, it's like, hold on to your seat, folks, because we're going down. I mean, it isn't even the Titanic. It's a meteorite hitting the ocean and burning in its way down. We all know what's happening in the universities. We've talked about what's happening in the schools with the Planned Parenthood programs sliding in underneath the noses of the administrations. The teachers don't even know what kind of sexual content and perversion there is going on there. Or is it the media?
Right.
And no offense to theDove broadcasting,
we're trying to do the opposite.
Mainstream media is a cesspool anymore. So if the church is saying, well, gee whiz, we're going to just defer on this issue, we don't want to be involved, there's a void there. So where is leadership going to come from? Okay, if the church abdicates its responsibility to be the salt and the light and expects the parents to be the source of leadership and pro-life education of our youth, how do we explain that half of the parents, half of the people sitting in the pews of the church have become involved in abortion? How do we explain that? In other words, they're lacking a rudder themselves. Now, Perry, I've shared this with people on the air before. I paid for my sister's abortion back in the 70s. I was clueless. It's no excuse. When I was saved, it became as clear as a bell. I've repented. I'm moving on. I can't say that it doesn't still trouble me. Okay? And I think, in fairness to the leadership in the churches, there's a real sensitivity to coming out and just dropping this bombshell, from the pulpit saying, well, we've got this petition and we're murdering babies and this and that without a proper preparatory time, whether it's a message, whether it's a prayer time. I mean, I completely get that, okay? We've been doing this, though, for 11 months. There's been plenty of opportunity to lay that groundwork within the church leadership in the message and in preparation. So it's time we take the bull by the horn here and get involved.
Let me just say one quick thing. I want you to finish this. If 50% of the church has been impacted by abortion, and it has, this will show up in counseling. And it takes real sensitive people to begin to deal with people who are hurting for various reasons, whether it's a woman or a man.
That's right.
If abortion is in their background, you can rest assured that is a core reason why they're having problems emotionally. And I've seen it a million times in counseling myself. And you can talk to Patrick Doyle about this. When it pops up, if you can go right to that subject and deal with that and have them ask God for forgiveness, the door's open for the rest of the healing with their emotional issues.
Yeah, well said. Okay. One of the most obvious and frightening with respect to our future, not only as a society, but as the church being a viable instrument of God's will, how do our young people resolve the conflict between Christ's greatest commandment, go into the world, preach the gospel, make disciples, and the church's unwillingness to be actively pro-life? How do our youth understand who our neighbor is? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Our neighbor includes that unborn child in the womb. If the church is saying, well, I'm just not going to get involved, what are they telling our youth about God's greatest commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself. It's a complete hypocrisy. There's no connection there. What are our youth supposed to think at that point in time? Well, they preach a good sermon, but it's what, do as I say, not as I do, or whatever the the saying is come on. They want action. They want to see it happen. They want to see somebody live out their commitment to the Lord.
That's really well said.
Okay. Okay. Shouldn't the horror of killing 11 unborn babies every day justify possibly making someone in the church pews uncomfortable? And my question is, when Christ entered his 3 years of ministry, was his ministry exemplified by comfort? I mean, was it physical comfort? Was it spiritual comfort? Was it emotion? He came not to make peace, but came with a sword. His ministry was about as far from being comfortable as you can imagine. I mean, that was his job, was to make people, challenge them, to make them uncomfortable. And I talk about, sometimes when I give a message to a group, Christ's ministry, essentially his ministry to individuals, as opposed to his ministry to the establishment per se. To individuals, it was love, compassion, understanding, healing. You know, I mean, he reached out to them, he ministered to them, he gave them a hug, so to speak. But when it came time to meet with the Sanhedrin, the Roman government, it was rebuke. He called them broods of vipers. Okay, I mean, that was strong language back in the day. This is the government of the state of Oregon. The church, following the example of Jesus Christ, should be challenging the government. This petition is a way to do that in a legal fashion. Okay, does the pragmatic calculation of the chances to succeed at getting the proper number of signatures in this petition justify whether we should be involved or not? Where's our faith?
Yeah.
Okay, well, gee whiz, I'm not going to do it because I just don't think it will succeed. Wasn't that a self-fulfilling prophecy right there then at that point in time?
Right.
We have to have faith. Do the numbers look good? No. Is Jesus able to finish filling out those petition sheets and getting them into Jeff in the next 11 days?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it discounts all the hard work that's been done the last 11 months laying that foundation. There's thousands of these sheets out there. Another 60,000 just went out. This can still be done. Okay, and finally, what value do we place on our own comfort to forget to mention an opportunity of this magnitude to our friends? I never knew about it. Well, that's because someone that you know that did know about it didn't bother to tell you about it.
All right, we're out of time, but let me just say this. You have 2 Sundays left. 2. Pastor, please go to your pulpits and ask your people to sign this petition. Pastor, if you, for whatever those other reasons would be, decided not to do it, would you prayerfully in the next 24 hours reconsider praying about it and having petitions in your church for 2 more Sundays? We have 2 Sundays to get this done. And if you need petitions, get a hold of us here at theDove, get a hold of Bryan. Bryan, we've got 30 seconds. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can just call me on my cell phone. I'm fine with that. It's 821-4773. Go to Oregon2014.org. There's a contact connection thing there.
And if you got the petition in the mail, circulate it, get it filled out, and get it back right away.
Every signature is precious, right?
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.